On the digital asset front, I mentioned that Bitcoin is very much a part of this administration's plans, including building a strategic reserve. We're very excited about that. We think that this is the layer of the internet that the developers in the early 90s did not build in. And we were at risk because of the SEC of losing this next big wave of the internet, all around commerce, financial services, digital property rights. And now we think this administration is going to bring that innovation back home where it started, and we're going to ride that wave again. So we're pretty excited about what has just happened from an innovation point of view. We think that deregulation is critical and really allowing innovation, one of the biggest runs it will ever have in history now that these technologies are ready after 25 years of germinating. We couldn't be more excited.
We're very high on Bitcoin, and we've been talking about Bitcoin for the past few years. We recommend doing it directly because you don't pay taxes if you're doing it directly, so that's a big difference. But we think that Bitcoin could become the next strategic reserve asset. So the country now holds 232,000 Bitcoin. We think that Trump could bump that up to over 1 million.
So you think it would replace what gold was back in the day as like there's going to be a quote-unquote Bitcoin Fort Knox, essentially?
Exactly. We think there's going to be, it's not going to replace, it's going to augment. So it will be incremental.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Kathy Wood speaking on Trump cutting the red tape, letting this innovation flourish. And what is she talking about? That's right, the fourth industrial revolution, the robots, algorithms, and drones. And that's all she's invested in. And then she also goes over the Bitcoin reserve. And never forget, Bitcoin and crypto is for the machines. It's not for you. It's for the machines. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And the bond market is going to be key for stocks and cryptos over the next 2 years. And don't forget about the BOJ. Majority of people in the United States are not even thinking about the BOJ. But you know I bring it up all the time, because as soon as they start to raise rates, it's going to hit the global economy. That means stocks and cryptos are going to take a hit. And I told you last summer, stay in the lab. Where everybody's spending money traveling, stay in the lab and you'll be rewarded. And what's going on right now, you're being rewarded. But what do I always teach you? Do not get greedy. If you're a trader, you know what to do. If you're a hodler, take you a little bit to make you happy, and then you can sit and ride the rest. We know the fourth industrial revolution is right around the corner. Now, in the Stock Patreon account, I did put in the headwinds just to go over, so therefore you can see what's in front of us, because we know when everybody's hyped, when everybody's making money, we know the sheep are going to come in. We know we've already received phone calls, messages from people we haven't heard from in a while. It happens every single bull run. But while the sheep come in, you take a little off the top. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now we know Trump's job is to move us over to this digital economy. And Elon Musk has warned several times. Trump has warned several times. There's going to be pain, but unfortunately, the sheep don't know the pain is going to be rewarded at the end. They don't even know about this digital economy. And that's the reason why we have all that money. People like Warren Buffett sitting $300 billion on the sideline because they're waiting for the perfect moment to buy for pennies on the dollar. And if you watch my chain link video, if you watch the video I did last night about the AI, about cryptos, these digital assets being integrated in the legacy market so the fourth industrial revolution can work, If you're invested properly, you're going to be fine. And if you're young, you're definitely in the perfect place. Now we have conflict of interest. Now that Trump is putting the band together, we have Elon's Dogecoin, Elon's Tesla pumping. And that's the reason why we have to watch out for social media posts from Trump and Elon, because they're going to be pumping and dumping stocks and cryptos. We remember this happened when Trump was in office before. We're definitely going to be in a movie, but the markets are going to be very volatile. It's going to be plenty of money to be made. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now, I'm not your financial advisor, not financial advice. Please do your own research. And we definitely know Trump is not going to be touching the Fed because the president works for the bank. And we know the banks are the biggest what? I'll let you finish that. But the Fed and the central banks are moving to blockchain. So eventually, you're not even going to be able to see them. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And then we have Trump says he's going to be closing the Department of Education in D.C. and move it to the states. And if you watch the video I did last night, I talked about education and how worthless it is right now, especially when we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution. And we know that's the right thing to do because it's definitely time to re-educate these kids because they won't stand a chance against a chat GPT that can pull from billions of sources in seconds. We have to get these kids prepared. If not, we know they're going to fall for the devil's tricks, the great deception. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
And get a bond market and a stock market, or why you'd expect coincident rallies in both. Some of the things that would help the stock market would kill the bond market, and maybe even vice versa. So how is he going to walk that line, or which policies do you think end up taking precedence?
Well, I think that what the stock market certainly likes is less regulation, a more pro-merger stance. I mean, that's positive,
Right.
And certainly it does not add to our government debt. So I think that's a positive.
That you can do both, but all the tax cuts and all the if the deficit widens even from where it is now, which is it is a terrible year for the deficit, obviously. If it widens from there with a lot of the giveaways and a lot of the tax cuts, that'd be bad for the bond market. Obviously, a lot of the Biden administration spending can be good in a Keynesian way, but the gains are kind of eaten up by inflation. But it's been good for the stock market.
Yeah, but certainly that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, if the bond market, if yields go up dramatically, and I still think yields are going to go up. The normal situation, Joe, is that the 10-year is between 100 and 150 basis points above the Fed funds rate. Don't forget, we've been in this strange inversion category that is very atypical of history for 2.5, 3 years. Normally, we do get that bond rate above. That's a normal interest rate. So I don't think the Fed is lowering to 2.9. I mean, that was their long term. I really think it's probably going to settle Fed funds somewhere between 3.5 and 4, but that really means a 5% or so 10-year. And if Trump goes all in on all his tax promises, I would say that would be higher. So I think the trend of higher long-term rates is going to be with us. By the way, I listened to your discussion about independence of the Fed. I don't think there's any appetite in Congress to repeal the Federal Reserve Act. In fact, instead of criticizing Jay Powell, I think Trump should thank Jay Powell because his overly easy policy during the Biden administration causing all that inflation was certainly one of the reasons why Trump won the election. And Trump himself has said, listen, I'm going to keep Powell on to the end of his term in the middle of 2026. So I really don't, I mean, he might want a little bit more consultation, but the market likes the independence of the Fed. If he messes any substantial way with the independence of the Fed, that is not going to be good for the bond market or the stock market.
It just seems
Here is the renewable.
And we've talked about the Fed a lot this morning, but do you have any view that there could actually be a court case brought effectively against the constitutionality of the Federal Reserve as constructed today as an independent entity, and whether it should be part of the executive branch, which is something that Mike Lee and now Elon Musk is endorsing, which is raising a question that I think was not on the table, or at least a lot of people's bingo card a week ago?
So I'd say two things. I mean, I always remember Paul Volcker once said, the Congress created us and the Congress can uncreate us. So this is an institution that was created by the Congress, and it doesn't need to exist. But the reason it exists and the reason it has independence is the evidence suggests that independent central banks produce better outcomes. So what I would say is, I think it's in President Trump's interest to have an independent Federal Reserve because it produces a better, the evidence is overwhelming that independence for the central bank produces a better combination of inflation and employment, which is what you want.
Would the market freak out if it thought the Fed was not going to be independent? Or?
I think that would be, you asked earlier about what could be destabilizing. I think that could be destabilizing.
I have one last independence question, and I ask it to you as somebody who I know is a Democrat, who I imagine may be one of the kinds of people who could raise some of these questions in the future, but we'll see. There are going to be a lot of business people who are going to go into this administration, right? Many who may, in almost a post-World War II approach to some of this. And Elon Musk may be the sort of avatar for all of that. There's going to be questions invariably about conflicts of interest. And invariably, there are going to be folks who are going to get waivers. There was a story over the weekend about how Howard Lutnick is, of course, running this transition team. He's going to be putting people in place who are going to regulate the SEC and other institutions who effectively are, quote unquote, supposed to be overseeing his own business. How does someone like you think about the balance between the expertise, hopefully, that some of these people bring to bear and the benefit that taxpayers may get as a result, if you believe that's the case, and whatever enrichment appears to be on the other side?
Tesla was up, I think, 30% last week. It's up another $20 today to $341. So I think that's kind of what you're talking about, is it not?
Well, Lazard's up a lot too. So
I wasn't even going there, but I do think
that's pretty
people,
amazing.
People may raise that question too. I'm not against these people being
earlier that all the subsidies we were talking, they're all going to Tesla now. I don't know whether you, no, not true, but I think Tesla's going to do okay.
The short answer is this: I think there were many groups that became too pure about a potential conflict if you look at it from this particular angle. Now, we could go too far the other way. So I think it is something worth watching. I haven't seen anything that, is particularly troubling. Howard Lutnick is a friend of mine, and I think a lot of that reporting seems off to me, but we have to wait and see. And you got
to get out of here and go start proposing some mergers.
Well, there's plenty going on.
Because it's ready.
Joe,
the time is now. Get out of here and go do what you're supposed to do, because baby, you're back.
There's no paying customers in this room.
You are back.
Thank you.
Peter, thank you.
Thank you.
And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. Thank you very much.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China. But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.